I didn't ever think Dreams of Tender Penny would be a fantastic hit.
I think you just write the best songs that you can. Then you start to listen to them and say, yeah, that could be really big, you know.
And we pretended whenever times were hard.
Well, we met in 1963, got married in 1966, and you were a big star and I was groupie. You were touring and working and recording and doing all sorts of stuff, and I was working as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we got married, you had a career and you were doing, you know, tours promoting Ivy League and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you were also writing with other people. So I was working at the music publishers, and then I worked in other areas.
So I passed, I'm the last of the losers, and I'm not gonna fight anymore.
I think you were at a period when your regular writing partners weren't available. Like Jeff Stevens had moved to Switzerland,
Yeah.
Ken had moved to America, and you were still writing for your own pleasure, writing music, but you were a bit stumped for lyricists.
That's true. And you just came in.
You said to me, do you fancy writing something?
Of course.
I can't remember what the first song was that you asked me to, but something way back in the mists of time, 1969, 70. Well, I think to start with, I had to have direction in the right way that you liked somebody you wrote with
Yeah.
to work, because I had no idea how that
But
process went.
yeah, but you soon got the hang of it, I'm sure.
Well, in John's musical ideas are so varied that it's easy to come up with ideas to fit them, because they just inspire different, set off little bombs of inspiration and imagination, and you know, you get an idea and work on it, and then we discussed it together, and he'd say, yes, that's okay, we'll do that, and it just worked that way.
Yeah. And it was enjoyable to do. I mean, not just writing it, you know, recording it, I used to love.
I mean, as far as that goes, you did that, you know, as something that you'd been doing all your life, all your musical life.
Yeah.
But you know, for writing, for me, writing lyrics was something that I'd never done, and it was fun to do, because it was interesting.
When we started together, we knew it worked. It really worked.
Yeah. After you shouted at me a few times.
Oh, I didn't.
And I proffered my lyrics and you didn't like them, so I stormed out and slammed the door.
Oh no.
And we had a few arguments.
Who am I? Who
Whatever we came up with, if it worked, you demoed, either just with a guitar and small band, or you know, got orchestra involved, or whatever the song needed. And we wrote a lot of songs before Dreams of Tender Penny came about.
There's a gambling rover. So the quiet lady with the gift.
And as far as the name Kincade, it wasn't a project. It wasn't something we thought, oh, Kincade, that's a great name, we must, you know, do something with that. The song, Dreams of Tender Penny, was recorded, and you did the vocals like you do on all your demos and all the productions in those days. and you pushed it around to various people. You submitted it to record labels as a production, and the one person who really went for it was Larry Page. That was it Penny Farthing? He was instrumental in thinking, I like this, I'd like to take it, what's the group? And you said, there isn't one, it's me.
And he made up the name.
It was his idea, wasn't it?
Yes.
He just liked the name, I think. So American sounding, but it wasn't too American because it wasn't a particularly American sounding production.
Yes.
I think you knew Larry before.
Yeah.
You knew him as having an independent, small label.
And he was someone you could go to and say, "Oh, hi, man, have a listen to this," which you couldn't do with many people in those days.
You couldn't do with big record companies.
No.
I mean, you have to have a group anyway. So a small label like his, he didn't mind that you didn't have a band involved.
Yeah.
That's why he was quite happy to go along with getting someone else, because John didn't want to tour, didn't want to be the face of Kincade. So when it was released in Germany and it was a hit, Larry knew someone to go out and mime on TV shows. You presented the production to a couple of other independent small labels that you thought there might be a chance to, because in those days there was a lot more independent labels.
Absolutely, and I think we knew maybe that they'd say, "I don't think so, it's not for us," as we'd heard about how lots of people did that. But we went on, with another one, and they didn't want it.
You just try other people.
Yeah, I think the third or fourth or something.
And Larry was probably
Larry
the third.
Page, and he just said, "Well, I really like this song, and I'd like to release it. Would you mind?" And
also, he had a connection with a company in Germany who had just started a record label, and they were looking for new material, and he did the deal for Germany. I can't remember if it was released simultaneously in the UK as a single. I have a feeling it was.
I think it was before.
It was first released in Germany on an album, and then it was picked up by German radio stations and became quite a big hit.
Yeah.
And I think then was released in the UK, but nothing much happened. But a lot of the German-speaking countries in Europe at that time, like Austria and Switzerland, also picked it up.
Yeah.
And that's when it became
did sell a lot.
an instant big seller.
Yeah. That's my idea. I didn't want to go on the road. I'd done that, hadn't I?
But
Really?
Larry was perfectly happy to get someone to front it,
Yeah.
which was quite usual
Yeah.
in those days.
Yeah.
And he had connections with singers, and he organised someone to stand up and do television promotion, which was good, which was necessary.
Yeah.
And he had contacts with agents and performers, and he got somebody in to be the face of Kincade.
Yeah.
The name Kincade wasn't well known, but it had to have a face, and it's absolutely essential to have someone there doing the touring. Remember the timeline between him going from Kincade to John Kincade. His name was John Knowles, the guy who did the front, and I think he became John Kincade after he stopped fronting Kincade titles. Because he was known as the face of Kincade, then he started his own career as John Kincade, which was fine. Nothing to do with us, you know, that's how his career developed. But I think while Kincade as a name was still, making hits, I think we had a lot of releases as Kincade. He also promoted, so he got his face around while doing that. And then when the Kincade era dwindled, you know, he had a career going round singing. Well, all the records were you doing the lead vocal. It was the original production.
I didn't want to go out on the road, that was the thing.
Well, you'd had enough of that with the Ivy League.
I'd had enough. I'd just left the Ivy League, so I'd had enough of all that kind of thing. And it was nice to find someone who was quite good singing it anyway.
But he was
willing to do all the touring. And
he may have called himself John Kincade, but he didn't record Kincade records. It was John.
Me, but I didn't mind because he was,
doing the hard work.
We just sat at home enjoying it.
Yeah. There are probably a few things that we wrote as Kincade that just disappeared without trace.
Yeah.
Or they were album tracks, which is very nice. But as songs, individual songs, they didn't set the world on fire, shall we say. People like individual titles on an album that get lost in the rush, where you think, oh, there's 6 titles A-side, 6 titles on the B-side. Out of 12 songs, maybe 4 or 5 are probably real ones that you really think, yeah, I'm proud of that. I really think that worked. And some of the others are maybe the ones that you think that's a bit of a B-side.
Even a B-side, if it's a hit,
yes.
It's okay.
Yes, I know, B-sides are very handy, being on the B-side. Yeah. I do like to see me on the B-side.
I think you just write the best songs that you can, and then you start to listen to them and say, yeah, that could be really big, But you still write other songs, and maybe they don't turn out that well, but you still release them and see what happens. And it's nice when a lot of people buy it, but you still have to keep on writing.
I think when you write not necessarily from the heart. It hasn't got to be something deeply felt, but something that
from you, that's
like.
From inside you.
You'd like to listen to, really, for yourself, that you want, to get out of your creativity, imagination.
You wouldn't write anything, when you played it back, you went, ooh.
No, you'd intentionally write something.
No, you write and think, you've done well, and you hope it's going to be successful.
Must have felt quite pleased with 3 or 4 over the years. I didn't ever think Dreams of Tender Penny would be a fantastic hit. It was nice, jolly, rhythmic, sing-along.
But you were wrong.
Type of stuff. Well, yes, but I mean, it wasn't down to me to be right or wrong. I just wrote it and it fitted and that it worked. But it wasn't something I thought, this is a masterpiece. Whereas other things that we wrote together, I felt really hit the spot for me, and sometimes they just didn't happen at all. They were pretty good album tracks, but no one thought this is really a wonderful, impressive, moving song. But some of the ones that I really liked, Our Front Room I liked. that was really digging back into my own personal past, which I don't often do as far as writing lyrics is concerned. You know, it has to go with the music rather than something that I want to write. But that did happen to work. The Bayou Boy was another one that I particularly liked, and that also came from a French film that I'd seen about a child that was discovered in a forest in France, like a feral child who no one had known was there, and was discovered as he grew up, living on his own from eating stuff he found, berries, and catching animals, and living, bringing himself up. And he was brought up into the civilized world by some of the people living around there, and I thought it was an interesting story.
I always liked Dreams of Tenor Penny. That was one of my favourites, I think, because it was, I don't know, very nice to sing as well. That's how it was written. That was how it was in my head. And so I said, well, we'll keep it like that. We were lucky, I think.
I don't know how to call the tune, then how can I sing the song? If I don't know how to speak the words, then how can I sing along? And if I never hear the music, when can I learn to play? Point me in the right direction, then I can find my way. How can I find when I can't even walk? Tell me, how can I cry when I can't even talk?
A lot of the tracks, because it was originally successful, Kincade's stuff was successful in Germany, they were released in Germany mainly, and because it wasn't successful in the UK, they weren't released as singles over here. A lot of singles were released in the German, Austria, and Swiss territories. Because it hadn't been, Concade hadn't been successful in the UK, it wasn't much point in releasing in the UK as a single. A lot of singles were released in Germany, and albums we put together as well. So there would be stuff that maybe only German fans would know about.
And anyone who cares to try will just need to have a one-track mind.
We had a deal with other German labels because they were still interested in using Kincade. I can't remember who they were, but you know, there were 2 or 3 different record labels that we licensed Kincade recordings to because they were still selling.
Still quite popular.
Tracks that people might find interesting, we decided to release the more obscure ones on a new channel called John and Jill Songwriters, and we hope people will find it fascinating to dig back into the history of Kincade records.
Go back down the road, go back down the road, go back along the way. Go back down the road, go back down the road, I hear the voices say, I've been shifting, I've been drifting since I let her go. Is she shining? Is she pining? I just got to know. Go back down the road, go back down the road. Something is calling me. Go back down the road, go back down the road. Go back and you'll be free. I don't really want to go there. Who knows what I'll find? So I'll just stay long enough to satisfy my mind. I must be moving on. Go back down the road, go back down the road before my life is gone. Leaving early in the morning on the western train. Traveling light with just a broken